Hi guys, and welcome back to the deck collection series. This is part 7. Today I am going to go over all of my sort of Native American and Mesoamerican decks. So anything like Mexican, Mayan, any of the Native American system decks that I have. I will go over all of those today. This is the Santa Muerte Tarot, and I also have the Oracle that goes along with it. Um, the deck itself is going to be um, kind of a thick cardstock, heavily laminated, but the images are super nice. Let me get that back in frame for you. And they sort of, in each of the suits, if you lay them out next to each other, they sort of have like this flowing depiction of a scene that you're walking through. Um, all of the tens are butterflies. All of the aces, I believe, are skulls of some sort, like the ace of swords going through the skull. Um, Super cool deck. I really like the artwork. Instead of death, we have Santa Muerte, which is the mother of death, or holy death, or saint of the dead. And you see that she's pregnant there. I really like this deck. The way that it reads is pretty cool. I like the backs. I have a penchant for skulls, if you can't tell by the skull that sits on my desk. It's got a pretty decent little white book that goes with it, and then I also keep it in the same bag here. This is the bag that I got for it, as the Oracle. So here is the book for the Oracle. And the backs of these cards, actually, if you lay them out all with the front side of the card facing down, and then spread them out in order, I think it's like 4 rows, the backs actually build out a picture of like a big Ouija board. And then here are some of the cards themselves. Each different section describes a different aspect. So these ones I think are all deities. No, these ones are all like aspects of self. These are all the deities, I believe. It's been a while since I've read through the book, but this section is all based on deities. And this, again, each different row, as you go through them, you can kind of line them up, and you will see that they kind of follow a specific scene. See how the images line up like that. And then the next row is sort of chaotic again, and then the final row again describes a scene as it moves out along the journey there of that portion of the oracle. Which I think is super cool. I like the way that these cards are laid out. So that is the Santa Muerte Tarot and the Oracle deck that goes along with it. Like I said, I keep them both in the same bag. They actually fit quite nicely in the one bag there. Sorry about that. But yeah, they all fit quite nicely in the one bag. Next will be one of the 2 decks that got me into tarot, or interested in tarot in the first place, and that is the now out of print Mayan tarot, or the Tarot Maya from Los Scarabeo. This is going to be a deck from 2008. This one operates entirely on a system based on things like Mayan cosmology, the Mayan calendar, and the Mayan pantheon of gods and goddesses. So it operates entirely on its own thing. It is a beautiful deck. And then there's the backs. It is a gorgeous deck. It is one of the two decks that originally got me interested in tarot in the first place. The other one was the Salvador Dali deck that I showed you guys back on my RWS based decks video. And then this is the Toltec Oracle that I keep in the same bag with it. And this is also an older out of print deck. The first set of the cards there is going to be based on Toltec and Mayan gods, like the feathered serpent. And you can see the names are almost pronounced the same, but the Toltecs spelled them a little bit differently. So you have that, and then the subsequent day signs. So there are 20 day related cards, and then quite a few based on the pantheon there. And I work with these two together when I do like Mayan cosmology studies or anything like that. It was actually my esoteric studies and my studies of Mayan cosmology in the beginning there that led me to tarot in the first place. So it's actually kind of fitting that that worked out like that. And then next I have this is the Mirror of Winal Oracle. The bag is handmade. There are only 400 of this deck that were produced, but the bag is handmade by the still existing Mayan tribes in Guatemala, and the deck itself was actually consecrated at the Burnt Mountain site, which is like a holy site for the Mayan culture. The book appears to be signed on one of these pages. There it is. It appears to be signed. That is definitely pen. And then this operates entire on the Mayan calendar. The entire thing is based on the gods of the Mayan calendar. They are going to be written in Mayan, Yucatec Mayan, and then Mexican right here. So that's going to be like the Nahuatl version of the name there. You have 4 different sections: the water, fire, earth, and spirit. So you see that the water is blue, fire red, earth green, and spirit is this sort of white color. All of the symbols around the edges have placements and meanings from symbols within Mayan cosmology and the Mayan calendar. This is, again, one of 400 decks that were produced. I really got it because of the fact that it was consecrated at Burnt Mountain, and the bag itself was actually produced by the artisans, the Mayan artisans of the southern Mexico and Guatemala region, of the still existing tribes down there. So this is very much an authentic Mayan bag that goes with it. It definitely connects to my lineage and my heritage quite a bit, so I definitely like having that. The next is also going to be a Mayan deck. This is the Zultun Tarot. The box is pretty sturdy. This particular version of the deck here is actually from 1976. This is going to be the second edition. The first edition actually came in a brown box, not the green box. Has brown backs with the Zultun tarot on the back, written in the same style bubble letters that you see here on these two cards, the title cards for the deck. However, the first edition has the names printed on the cards in that same bubble letter font there. These are some of the majors. This is going to be another one of those decks where the images sort of connect to make a greater scene. And then you'll see once we get out of the majors, again, this whole deck operates on, Mayan cosmology, Mayan deities, and so on. This does not have the bubble print like you see represented on these two cards. It is a second edition, 1976. Like I said, the first edition came with the brown box with the brown backs and the bubble print down here. But each suit, again, follows its own little storyline there as you lay each of the cards out. And then, so that kind of goes through all of the setup there. And again, those are the majors. So that is the Zultun Tarot from 1976, the green box second edition. And next on the list is going to be my Tarot de los Muertos. This is a Llewellyn deck from, I want to say, 2002. 2004. It is now out of print, but this is a pip-based deck, or a pip deck rather, based entirely on the holiday known as Dia de los Muertos. Some people refer to it as Samhain, and some people refer to it as Halloween, but it's all the celebration of life and the appreciation of death. Every human figure in the deck is a skeleton, with the exception of the devil, who is a pregnant woman about to give life. So but it is a pip deck. Like I said, your wands are pens, your cups are coffins, your swords are pistols, and the pentacles are reels. Comes with a spread card, the little white book, which is in both Spanish and English. And it came with this little bag. The big box is put up away in storage. I am going to get a different bag and possibly a cloth to go with this deck, but at least a different bag. And that is the Tarot de los Muertos. And then the last one here, nope, second to last one. I got one more after this, but this is the Santa Fe Tarot. Now, this is from 1993. This one is super hard to find. It took me a while to find this deck. Apparently, it is quite rare and has been out of print for quite some time. It is entirely based on, you see the Corn Cloud Woman, the Orange Winged Yi, Rainbow is the Fool. These are all going to be largely based on the Santa Fe tribes, the tribes of the Santa Fe region, and their images, their symbology you see for justice, and the whirring logs. You also have like that almost, I don't want to use, see, now I'm all stuck because I got to thinking of the Nazis, which that is the quote-unquote swastika image being represented there. But a lot of ancient Mesoamerican tribes, and you know, the civilizations from the Native Americans, and you know, going even further back into more and more ancient Native and Indigenous Mesoamerica, you have this symbol here being used as a symbol of peace or a symbol of justice, as we see represented here in the justice card. So I can go more into that. I do need to get the book for this deck. I have not found the book yet. The book is also going to be super hard for me to find, but this deck is in amazing condition for a 1993 deck that's this rare and hard to find. So the tuck box is in pretty good condition. The corner there got a little dented in transit to me, but this is a beautiful deck, one of my favorites in the collection, and it's also the most expensive deck that I have purchased until this day. And I have actually set this as the bar. I've decided that I will not spend more than this on any tarot deck ever again. Which is why I can't find some of the decks that I have on my wish list, because those decks are worth like $2 and $3 and $4 and $500. I just can't see myself spending that much money on a deck. I spent $150 on this, and I feel like the highest that I would ever be willing to go on a deck would be about somewhere between $150 and $180. I don't think I would be comfortable paying $200 for a deck. Well, you never know though. The right deck might come along and strike me one time, and I might have to get it for $200. And that is unless we're talking about like super vintage decks, like early 1900s. Decks from like, you know, anywhere between 1900 and 1950. In that age range there, I would probably pay a little bit more, but I don't know. The right deck would have to come along. This is not necessarily a deck that's commonly considered a divination deck, but this is the El Gallo Loteria. These are cards from Mexico. They are a lottery-based system where you have these big cards that have random images like this on the cards, and then someone shuffles the deck and they start pulling cards, and you match them up with the images that you have on your card sheet for the game of bingo. It's basically Mexican bingo, or the loteria, which means the lottery. So it's a game based essentially on bingo. But after a little bit of digging into these cards, I did find that there is a divination system that has been developed for these cards that reads almost like a Mexican Lenormand system. So I am going to do some digging into that at some point. But also these cards are very reminiscent of childhood for me. I always remember having at least one of these loteria sets around at somebody in my family's house. So there's that. Like I said, it reads more like a Mexican Lenormand system. The card backs actually look a little bit like a darkened version of the RWS plaid back. But I keep it in this little bag with all of the Loteria images printed on it. And it came with like these little yellow plastic, almost like coins that I'm thinking of doing almost like a Mexican, Aztec, Mayan rune set from, wherein I can draw some of the day signs and some of the glyphs onto these little tiny yellow coins that came with this, and sort of use that as a extension of the what I would consider to be Mexican Lenormand. I have a little bit of room in there, so I could keep them in there with the deck. So I'm thinking about doing that, but that might have to wait and come at a later time. So that is the native, Meso, and Indigenous slash like Mexican American decks that I have there. That is part 7 of the deck collection series, and in the next part of the series I will be doing my standalone Oracle decks. I think that's the only thing that I've got left at this point, is just the standalone oracles, and I think there's 1 or 2 decks that I have missed in the previous videos, so I will kind of throw those in there with the standalone oracles as well, and let you know where in the collection they fall as far as the different categories that I have presented as far as the collection videos are concerned. Again, I appreciate you for coming by. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead and click subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you have any decks that you want to see me walk through specifically, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to move those closer to the top of the list there. But I will be getting to all of my decks, within a certain span of time. I can't say for sure how long that's going to be, because I do got about 70 decks currently. But let me see here. Yep, looks like that is all of the decks that I have for this particular video. Again, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you for coming, and I will see you on the next one.